We try to be very, very detail-oriented. We really try to slow everything down and just make sure guys completely understand what we're trying to get accomplished at every position, on every play, in all three phases.
How much of a challenge is it to get ready for a team that kind of does everything different from you? I mean, they're like not a mirror image, but like some kind of opposite image. You know, they do special teams and they score all different ways.
Yeah, they do. They do. They, you know, and I think it's a sign of a well-coached football team, a team that has belief in the stuff they're doing. You know, they've always been very good on defense. They've always been aggressive. They've always been very good on special teams. They've been aggressive in that phase. I think probably the biggest difference with Utah this season, as years pass, is I really feel like they've found an identity in running the football that maybe they'd been searching for over the last few years. And I think it probably fits Kyle's personality, you know, of the way they're playing. And so, you know, they're doing it their way, which it's been successful for them thus far.
What kind of a challenge is getting ready for a team that plays a lot different, except for the run, they play a lot differently from you guys, right?
Well, I don't think it's that difficult, you know. I mean, it's like every week, you know, when we face Arizona, and that's an offense that we've never seen before, or you know, whatever, all of the different defenses that we've seen. So you prepare, and we've got good coaches, and we've got willing kids who do an amazing job on our service teams to get our guys prepared. They take pride in it. That's why I love seeing those guys having fun on game days, because I know that how hard they work throughout the week. So I feel great about our preparation.
Among the guys who've been nursing injuries this week, are there any that you expect to be unavailable?
Not yet, no. I think we'll be okay.
You don't have a full-time special teams coach.
Yeah, I do. Johnny Nansen.
Well, I mean, he's also the running backs coach.
Yes.
I mean, but as far as having one whose sole job is special teams, is this something you've ever had?
No.
Something you've ever considered? Do you think that matters?
If the NCAA would allow us one more coach, I might consider it. But you know, in this day and age, you know, every special teams coach that I can think of in college football coaches a position, and so it's just part of the job. You know, there's nothing easy about the job that we do, and that's just part of the job. And so, you know, Johnny coaches our running backs as well as coaches our special teams, and does a great job.
Do other coaches contribute to the special teams?
Yes, everybody contributes.
Everybody does.
Whittingham actually is now their special teams coach.
Mm-hmm.
Is that, how often do you see that?
Well, it's somewhat of a model. You know, I know that you know, I think Kyle got that a little bit from Urban when Urban was at Utah. That's been Urban's MO. I know Frank Beamer's done some of that at Virginia Tech. So I know that guys have been involved that way. I think it's a little easier to do later in your tenure in the program that you're at, when you get your offense and defense solidified of everything you're doing and schemes and stabs and all that. So, but yeah, it's, you know, I've seen it.
I know you guys prepare. You want preparing for every opponent, just taking care of yourselves and whatnot. But is there any special incentive or message you send to the offensive line this week, with given, you know, their reputation and statistically, at least so far through the season, how dynamic they've been as pass rushers?
I don't necessarily have to do much of it, you know. You know, it's pretty clear, you know, and as a player, as a competitor, you notice the areas of where challenges could arise, and obviously that's a very clear one. And same can be said for our defensive line in defending their run, and same is going to be said for our special teams unit in covering kicks. But that doesn't mean our other units don't have a lot of pride too. Our field goal block team, immensely prideful, and you can see it in the effort that they play with, or the passing game. You know, I've been challenging those guys, and now you see those guys step up and start to make their plays. So we've got a prideful team, which is a great trait to have. I love the fact that we have this type of unit. It doesn't take much for me to do that. I don't have to rely on external motivators. You know, that these guys are motivated every day.
You mentioned yesterday that the defense's attitude has improved, among other things. What did you mean by that?
I just think the style and the passion in which they play the game. I think they take the field with a purpose. Again, I believe we're playing a more physical brand of football over the last month. I think it shows in our ability to stop the run and get into the quarterback a bit more often. So You know, we're still a work in progress, but I believe we're much improved.
What do you think is the most underrated position group or area on this Utah football team?
The quarterback.
How come?
Which one?
Well, I think they both are relatively talented. I'm not sure. You know, they rotate them. That's their own prerogative. But when they play, they do pretty good.
Could you, I mean, you may have had this situation in Washington, not just off the highway, but could you envision being 7-8 games into the season and not really knowing who your number one guy is?
I've never been that way. You know, historically for me, and just the way I've been brought up in this is, you find a guy and you go with them until you have to make a change, and then that change is a permanent one. So I've never been in that scenario as a player, as a coach. I don't, you know, for me personally, that's not ideal. And I don't know if that's ideal for any coach or any team, but you know, you play the hand you're dealt, and you do the best you can do with the hand that you have.
Is Alex going to remain the kickoff guy?
We'll figure that out Saturday.
Toa Lobanon came in here in spring, and almost from the outset became a starter. Is there something that you saw in him from the get-go that you realized this might be something special, or there's a certain maturity that this guy has that would enable him to do that?
Well, I think he's really well prepared. You know, when he got here, he was physically prepared. He was mentally prepared. His dad is a coach, so he's around the game a lot. He talks the game a lot. When I went on the home visit at his house, they had a weight set in the kitchen. So he's a guy that was really preparing for the moment. And when he got here, it wasn't ever too big for him. You know, he'd been around the game enough to know he could grasp and take on schemes and fundamentals and techniques. And then physically, obviously, he was preparing for it, and it really showed up.
Let's do one more.
At USC, the last several years, there've been, it seems like a young receiver who's been really good right away. Robert Woods, Marquise Lee, Nelson, now Juju. Is there any comparison from your previous, from at Washington or when you were at USC to Juju? It reminds you of anyone in terms of how prepared he was coming into the program, his studiousness, attitude?
I don't know. You know, I mean, I think what makes Juju unique, obviously he is a physically gifted guy. You know, he's big, strong, powerful guy, runs well. What I think kind of separates him from the guys I've ever been around. Now, I wasn't around Robert and Marquise and Nelson when they were that age, and I'm sure they were great players too. But for a 17-year-old guy, the maturity he possesses, that every day he comes out here with an amazing attitude and work ethic. I think Nelson should get some of that credit, because Nelson brings that same attitude every day as well. I think that's rubbed off on Juju. He practices so hard. He loves the game. We can't take him off of special teams during the game. He won't come out, never mind playing receiver. So I just, more than anything, I think it's just his attitude he embraces every single day that shows up to me that really makes him unique.